Hey, this is Brett Tappy. We're back here again at SES San Jose, and joining us, Mr. Michael Gray of Atlas Web Services. Thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
So, what are you talking about at SES this year?
I'm going to be talking about some tools for social media monitoring and tracking, that sort of stuff.
What's new?
There's a lot of new stuff. A lot of people are trying stuff. Before it's, Twitter trying to get the lion's share of what everybody's talking about, but there are a lot of other interesting services that are out there. I see some people experimenting with videos and pictures and that sort of stuff, and I just think it's nice that there's some variation in there.
Mm-hmm. A year ago we were talking about, is Twitter going to make it, and now we're talking about how big is it going to get, and, is there a moment that's going to get too big,
It's a hard thing. They've really I think they're here to stay for, at least the short term, the next couple of years. Beyond that, it's hard to say anything in internet time, but they're definitely, they're pretty ingrained now. You just see them all in all the major phone company commercials. Right. They're all integrating that as part of their pitch.
Yeah, popping up on TV shows left and right.
Yep.
It's almost kind of the same way Google tipped, 6-7 years ago when they finally tipped over. What else is new in social media? We got the recent friend feed was just bought by Facebook. Does that have any impact at all?
It depends on how they integrate it. If they're going to keep things kind of separate, there's not a tremendous amount of SEO value because everything out of friend feed is everything is no followed. So there's just not any SEO value there. If someone big who has a big network and is using friend feed and they have a lot of followers, if they tweet out, they can definitely drive some traffic. If they're going to integrate it in, it may, who knows what's going to happen at that point, how they're going to do that, because again, the Facebook links don't get followed out, but they can drive a decent amount of traffic because it's a much bigger network.
Right, and they paid a fairly pretty penny for it. It sounded like from the press releases. I didn't give them any credence until pretty much all my friends started following through friend feed.
Yeah, again, a friend feed I just never kind of got into. It's a very, very hard thing to manage. You'd think it's a good idea just combining everybody's, their Flickr, their YouTube, their Twitter feeds and everything like that. But then if you have a couple active people in your thing, it just becomes just this fire hose of information. And if you've only got a certain amount of time to put in it a day, it can be really overwhelming.
It's like me trying to follow back everybody who follows me on Twitter. And you follow 20,000, and you just can't follow it.
Exactly. When you get into that level of numbers, you're really, you're dipping your toe in, and then you're coming back out, and the water's just rushing by.
So is the social media revolution over with?
I think it's less of a buzz term than it was, but I don't think it's ever going to go away. One of the things that I think a lot of people kind of miss from the old school, they're just like, oh, this is a fad, it's going to go away, but everybody only has a certain amount of attention during a day. They only have so many hours that they can devote to whatever they're working or they're non-working or whatever their pleasure is. And if you're not and a lot of them are taking part in that social space, and if you're not participating there, there's less attention for you to actually get, and that's where I think people just kind of miss the boat.
Yep. We talked a little bit about SEO just through social media, but I'd say the buzz here at the conference about SEO is that there is no buzz about SEO. That it's almost like...
It's almost that, yeah. It's a lot of times it's kind of become flat. I know Google just released that new that sandbox caffeine, I think they're calling it.
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of time to look at it. It looks a little bit better than Google currently is now, again, but that's just a quick look. I'm glad that Bing's got a lot of the attention that they did, and they kind of brought themselves up. I'm not really sure how long it's going to take for the whole Yahoo thing to integrate in. We're probably talking a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years before it becomes there. So it's hard to say how that's going to play out, but I think if it evens the score out a little bit, that's better for everybody in the space.
Right. Went from 3 to 2.
Yep. Ask just hanging on there. Just all they got to do is wait for somebody else to drop out, and they'll be.
Oh, that's right. Ask. Okay. Keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
I get reminded about them about every 24 months.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we're kind of out of time here. So, thanks for joining us, Michael.
Thank you for having me.